Now, the focus for the whole of the festive period is, of course, Kempton on Boxing Day. You've got the joint favourite for the King George in Jango Baie, 2-1 with Unibet. So impressive, I thought, at Ascot. I'm sure you thought the same last time. He's a sort of horse that almost slips under the radar. A lot of people don't appreciate how good he actually is, but he just keeps winning, doesn't he?
And he won the Arkle.
Yeah.
And most Arkle horses are favourite for the Champion Chase the next year. He certainly isn't, because he wouldn't get an entry in the Champion Chase, only because that is not his trip, full stop. No. It was a remarkable performance. I mean, his form up until then had been great too.
Yeah.
He got beaten a nose in the Scilly Isles. And, 2.5 was definitely his trip. The issue at the end of the season had come Cheltenham was that, the 2.5 had become a novice handicap, which he was out of, obviously, too high, and therefore we needed to see if he wanted to go 2 miles or 3 miles or nowhere. I was pretty keen, and so was Tony Barney, that we needed to run him in one of them. And we plumped for the 2-miler rather than the 3-miler. Rightly or wrongly, but anyway, rightly at the end of the day, because we got away with it. Goodness only knows how. Nobody will know, because he was due to be pulled up on top of the hill. Nicky was very patient, persevered, without asking him too many questions, until he got to the second last, hit the rising ground, and you still couldn't believe it was going to happen till way after the last. It was extraordinary. But here we go, we're into the new trip. Ascot was ideal, and 2.6, yeah, and now 3 miles around Kempton. It would look as if he is a genuine stayer, and with a touch of classy speed. He quickened up really well at Ascot. The only thing, and this is me thinking or trying to sort of dampen I'm not trying to dampen the enthusiasm behind him, but you just wondered at Ascot. We know Il-est-Français probably wasn't the best Il-est-Français that day, and he'll probably come into the King George as well, as far as I know. Pictori, again, has he run his race? He got beaten too easily for my liking, in which case, what we have beaten, Gidley Park, he's a very good horse, but to be fair, Jango just quickened up really impressively to beat him comfortably. You have to take Gidley as the benchmark out of the race, and I don't see why that doesn't make him good enough. But the race itself was a tiny bit muddled.
Just wanted to ask your thoughts on the track, because of course if you look at a lot of his wins, they've been on very stiff undulating tracks, like I said, Sandown, or just beaten at Sandown last year, but Cheltenham in the Arkle. Obviously Kempton's much more flatter, more of a speed track. I suppose if they go a good gallop, that would certainly help him, but did you have any reservations at all about the stiffness of the track at Kempton?
Well, I think the 3 miles, probably being his first try at 3 miles, and the fact he had the speed to win a Grade 1 2-miler at Cheltenham, I'd like to think that they cross each other out.
Yeah.
He has got the speed to win, to come up the hill as fast as he did at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Blimey, if he could do that again at the back end of a King George, then the others, then we really have got something.
Yeah. I suppose it's quite a rare commodity to have speed and
stamina. Yeah.
You've won the race twice with Long Run. You won it with Mike Bite as well. I mean, are there any similarities between either of those two and him? Are they
None.
completely different types?
No,
Yeah.
He is definitely quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Mike Bite was never a fast horse, but he was just such a great galloper and jumper. And Long Run was a very, very classy horse. Yeah, he could win over 2 miles, actually, he did. But this horse probably has he might just be a speedier article. I mean, he's certainly different to Mike Bite. Long Run wasn't a slouch in any way. He was quite a quick horse.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I can't really compare them, I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. With regards to looking further down the line, obviously if he runs well or hopefully even wins the King George, then you know the questions you're going to get asked. Is he going to go to Cheltenham for the Gold Cup? Do you see him as an out-and-out stayer? Would he get 3 1/4 in the Gold Cup, do you think? Would he be good enough to win the Gold Cup?
I don't know if he'd be the first horse to go from the Arkle to the Gold Cup in one go, in 1 year. It could be a rarity. It would be a strange one if it was. I suppose if you win the King George, you have to look and see what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the Ryanair could be the middle drive might just be the answer. I don't know. I suppose what happens on Boxing Day will dictate to us.
Yeah.
Let's hope we could just get through that and find out.
And it looks a pretty good King George this year,
Oh,
doesn't
it does,
Obviously,
doesn't
we're
it?
waiting
Yeah, it
for
looks
decorations,
terrific.
but often you've seen a few, you get an odds on favourite, but this year there's plenty of them you can make a case for.
You could see it's seriously competitive.
What did you think of the jukebox man? Did you get to see him when
Yes,
he
I
won at
did.
the Haydock?
I've seen them all, and I saw the Irish race as well.
Yeah.
I've seen Ile-France's race. Well, that's different. But, you know, they've all been, that was a hell of a race in Ireland. Jukebox, rather like Jango Baie, appeared not to get a terribly hard race. So they come in with, Jukebox and Jango come in with a similar profile in that they were last year's novices. They've had a nice preparatory race without getting tested to the hilt. Might help them.
Okay. Right, let's look at the Christmas hurdle. Now, this obviously has changed complexion quite significantly over the last week or two. We won't talk too much about Constitutional because obviously there's nothing else to say. At this stage, is it SIR GINO who will be flying the flag for Seven Barrows?
Well, I think, you know, with Constitutional, when I say this is not the time and the place for going into this book because it'll be a 2-hour programme.
And we are losing light, Nicky, as well. So I think we're going to just have to stick with SIR GINO here.
We'll see. I mean, you know, you can't rule anything and you can't rule anything out. But I'd say that one's, you know, we're taking on another programme possibly for him. In which case, SIR GINO, I'd always had it in my mind that the comeback we'd hope to be ready for Christmas. Never made any targets because I didn't want to feel we had to be somewhere on a certain date, and I get rushing or pushing anywhere. Just let it happen when it happens. If anything, I was thinking about the Desert Orchid, which is a handicap, but it's a very limited one, so it might suit. But just as the deck is at the moment, it seems to me that, you know, he came in as a substitute to the Fighting Fifth last year for his first run, and that was fantastic. And that nothing, you know, his injury was nothing to do with jumping. His jumping was spectacular in Kempton the next day, wasn't it? Well, the day after Boxing Day. But it might just be easier for him to start over hurdles. And the way the Christmas hurdle might be making up, it looks probably quite a tempting opportunity. I don't know where and what Lossiemouth's plans are. She's the one that could appear in there. Otherwise, Dan's horse looks as if he's going to wait for the Unibet hurdle. It might leave the door a bit ajar in Christmas, so I suspect that's where we're going to go.
And I wonder how tempted you will be after the race if he wins to consider the Unibet Champion Hurdle or go back over fences. And
Well,
then,
there
of
you
course,
go.
you look at the
I mean,
Champion Chase.
I mean, yes. I mean, the first thing is to get this run. I mean, his issue, rather than an injury, it wasn't an injury, it was a sort of, I don't know what you call it, issue, we'll leave it at that, was bizarre. And therefore, I'm thinking and hoping it doesn't actually carry any more. It's not as if a limb or anything was actually injured. He hasn't had a strain or a bruising or anything, that it shouldn't, touch wood, repeat itself. I don't, you know, but God, you never know. But if we get through this unscathed, then if that could happen, it would be fantastic. And whatever happens, it will tell us where we are and what we do. It seems an awful thing to be having a horse that jumps as brilliantly as this does over fences, not to be using it over fences. But if at the current moment you looked at it and looked at the Champion Chase and the Champion Hurdle, it's hard to say, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we might just look at it and say, well, you know, where is it? I mean, we know that Willie's horse beat JONBON fair and square, to be honest with you, in the Tingle Creek, and he looks a very high-class individual. Lossiemouth, we don't know where he's going or what the other formats and makeups of the champion hurdle could be. So we'll leave all doors open, and I think just concentrate on getting to Kempton, having a look at the Christmas hurdle, and then hopefully we might have the luxury of a choice.
A few more scratched heads, that's for sure, anyway.
We'd like that.
Let's just look at a few of the other horses that you may be running over the Christmas period. We'll stick with Kempton for the time being. Manlager, a 3-year-old filly. There's a nice sort of juvenile introductory hurdle there, which I think you ran SIR GINO when he made his debut for you.
Yeah.
How good do you think she is?
She's coming. If she's taken a little bit of time to come to hand, but we're definitely, like her a lot. And she jumps very well, and she'd appreciate soft ground. So she's a Christmas babe, really.
We saw her, she galloped at Newbury, didn't she, a couple of weeks ago?
She did.
What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it was actually just try and push her through a little bit of a barrier, really, and she wasn't exactly galloping. She was having a day out, and I think it did her the world of good.
Okay, sure. So she could be a name to look out for. Another one who we've seen once for you, and he was impressive, that was at Newbury, was Active Innocence. Of course, you've got the Formby at Aintree. Is that a possibility for him?
It is, because I think, as we were saying with these 2 milers, you see the novice hurdle on Boxing Day is a maiden, so there's nothing for him there. There is the Formby. It's a good race. Jango Baie won it, didn't he, a couple of years ago? So it's the old Tolworth.
Yeah.
I was vociferous in my disapproval.
I was thinking of bringing that up actually.
And then promptly went and won it the first year, and so I had to apologise profusely to anybody I might have upset. And it's there. We've discussed this with Gordon and Sue Hall, and it is there. It's he's a big horse. Wouldn't strike me as the obvious track for him, but there you are. He's a great. I was quite keen to stay out of Grade 1 company anyway for the time being. I thought there might be easier ways of trying to learn your fate rather earlier than, keep it rather for later than earlier. In which case there is an introductory hurdle at Newbury at the end of the month, and that might just be a kinder stepping stone.
Okay. And just one more name to mention for those that will be hopefully running over the next couple of weeks. Crystal Island, a point-to-point winner. I see you've got him ended up in quite a few places.
He is still a maiden, so he will be ready either for the Newbury or Ascot. There's 2.5 mile maidens at both places. The plan will be to go for one of those.
Okay. And before we conclude this little chat, just an update, if we can, on Jonbon. We just touched on him briefly in the Tingle Creek. Has he come out the race in good shape?
Great shape, yeah. Everybody's very happy with him. And he was bouncy and happy the next day. We were all delighted with him. We had the same grade of improvement from the Schlur to the Tingle Creek that we've had every year. The only problem that happened this year is you have probably a superior horse to the last 2 or 3 years. And he was very impressive, fair play to him, but he did beat us in the celebration chase last year. So the form actually remains that Jonbon, he took the same step from the Schlur to that and beat Dan's horse, Lotus Sud, by a large margin this time, having been, he's improved exactly as we expected, but it wasn't good enough, over 2 miles. We have the option, we've got lots of options actually, but never rule out the Clarence House. He's still probably the best 2 miler this side of the pond.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't throw you could go up in trip, or we can still look at the Clarence House. There's the Silviana Conti, there's the Fleur de Lis at Windsor.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of options. He'll tell us when he wants to go. He comes back remarkably well. He bounces right back into the ball game. And, he's very happy.
Would you be trying to avoid Ilite Tom at Cheltenham, or would you still, is it sort of champion chase all the way, or would you be looking at Ryanair's?
Well, again, you've got the options. Let's see what we do in the short term, i.e. his next run.
Yeah.
Will tell us a lot more. We know he stays 2.5. He's won the Aintree 2.5 the last 2 years, and he gets it well. I know it's 2.5 round Aintree, big difference to, say, 2.5 round Cheltenham, but I know there are plenty still say he's not as good round Cheltenham, but I don't think, I mean, yeah, he loves Sandown. He ran a terrific race on Saturday, and we're all very, very proud of him on Saturday.
Yeah, no.
And he retains this lovely record that I'm not quite sure how many runs it is now. I think it's 23 or 24. He's never been out of the first two.
No, it's amazing.
Love to keep that intact, but maybe that's not possible.
Lulamba is at a different stage of his career in the way he is a potential superstar. And he was very good in the end, wasn't he, in the Henry VIII?
I don't know about very good at the end. I thought he was very good.
Well, very
all
good
the
way
way
through. But I mean, I think he warmed up nicely to his task.
Oh, he
didn't
was terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, they went a good gallop. I mean, I know actually there was a difference in the weights, but they were quite a bit quicker than the Tingle Creek.
Yeah.
For a 4-year-old novice chaser, that's some performance. You couldn't, you could question what happened at Exeter and what the value of the form was. Gary Moore's horse came out and won at Sandown on the Friday, but albeit over 3 miles. And I thought he was brilliant. We got a brilliant ride that day, I must admit. And we'd beaten him comfortably and Jango Baie. But Exeter told us nothing. I thought Sandown was as good as you could possibly have hoped for. You couldn't ask for more.
And what was Nico's immediate words to after the race? How impressed was he?
Well, we have always thought he'd get further. But the great thing about that was it told us that he can be a 2-miler. And I think that was, he's grown up a lot. That was far better than anything he achieved last year. Triumph Hurdle, yeah, well, he didn't even win it, but we always felt he was the moral winner on the day. Yeah. And then he backed that up with his Grade 1 in Punchestown. But, we thought this horse was destined for 2.5 at least. So much so that we didn't look at him as a champion hurdle horse, but he looked like a champion horse on Saturday.
Yeah.
I was just thrilled with the performance. And
so you've got your Warwicks.
We've got to stay at 2 miles for the time being and concentrate on the Arco. You have to. But there's nowhere I could see him having more than, instead at the time, I'd like to have 2 more runs. Just looking through the programme book, I don't see how you can do it. And I think it's 1, because wherever it is, it's in the middle of the 2.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else. I was quite keen not to go to Kempton, only because he only had 3 weeks from Exeter to Sandown, and coming back in another 3 weeks, I just don't see the necessity with the young horse to do that. So I'd rather probably, Warwick might ease the Kingmakers, the probable, possible, maybe. We'll see.